Gareth Thomas, bonjour. Un
Bonjour.
grand merci d'avoir accepté l'invitation de la Fringale culturelle. C'est un plaisir de vous rencontrer, de vous recevoir en tant qu'invité chez nous. Vous publiez aux éditions Michel Lafon une autobiographie qui s'appelle Fier, mon autobiographie. Pourquoi avez-vous souhaité prendre la parole dans un livre?
Because so many people in the UK had an understanding that they thought they knew who I was, and they thought they knew my story from a journalist or from a newspaper article. Um, but for me, I wanted people to know who I was and what I had gone through from my own words and my own descriptions. So for me, it was very important that if people liked me, or even if people disliked me, I was okay with that as long as they liked or disliked me for knowing who I was. And the only way they could find out who I was and what I'd been through was for me to tell my story my own way. So I needed a definition of who I was, and that was the reason why I wrote the book.
Alors, quand on commence à lire votre histoire, Fier, ça commence de l'enfance, vous racontez vos parents, comment vous évoluez, l'amour du sport, comment le sport est présent dans votre famille, toute votre trajectoire. C'était important de partir du début.
Yeah, the main thing about it was the fact that I started at the beginning of my life because a lot of who I am as a person was created then. It's created, my home life has a big part to play in who I am. My parents are hugely influential in my life, influential in my career, influential in a lot of decisions I've made within my life. So the town I've come from and the people who brought me up in that town are instrumental in me getting success at rugby and eventually having the strength and courage to do what I did further on in my life.
Alors, vous faites un sacré parcours, vous êtes capitaine du pays de Galles et des Lions britanniques, vous faites du rugby donc, et à côté de ça, vous avez un secret qui vous ronge. Jusqu'à quel moment vous avez pu enfin en vous avoir le déclic pour assumer ce secret?
For me, it came to a point where I'd lost a lot of everything I had. So I was married and my wife had left me, so I'd lost my wife. I felt like I'd lost the respect and the trust of my family, and the one thing I had left was my rugby and my rugby team, because I was still captain. And I played a game of rugby, and through all the stress and everything I was going through, I felt like I couldn't play respectfully as the jersey, the jersey deserved. So it was a time when I felt like I then lost everything from my life, and I thought that if I don't begin being honest as a person, then I'm not a very good person at all, because I had lost everything. So for me, it was a case of I either walk away and probably never walk back to another changing room.
Alors justement, on lit ça dans votre bouquin, on sent que ce secret est lourd et qui vous tue à petit feu. Vous vous dites donc pourquoi l'homosexualité me tombe dessus, pourquoi je suis homo. C'est de ça dont il s'agit, Gareth. Et donc du coup, à un moment donné, vous vous dites que le rugby, à la fois c'est une chance parce que vous avez une très belle carrière et tout se passe bien, et en même temps c'est trop lourd à porter parce que vous êtes homosexuel et dans un sport où les insultes sur les homos sont assez quotidiennes.
Yeah, that's why it took me so long to eventually be honest, because I had a fear, not so much of myself, but what other people would think of me. And there was a time when I was younger that I chose rugby over my life. So rugby would dictate who I was. So it was all I had in my life. So if at a time I was going to be openly gay, I potentially had the chance of losing my life because I'd lose the rugby. And rugby is a very macho environment, it's a very macho sport, and a lot of things that a rugby player stereotypically are is not what society thinks a gay man is. So for me, it was difficult to try and have people understand that I can be gay, but I can still be tough, I can still be strong, I can still play sport, I can still do rugby, as well as many other people can still do that. And also, nobody else within rugby had ever openly said they were gay and could continue to play. So when you're the first person to do something in a professional sport, then that means that you're going to come across criticism, but also you're very afraid because I had no idea how people would react because nobody had done it before.